In this video, we get 3 packages, a special delivery from Cammus, as we explore one of the strangest wheels I've ever experienced. Hello everyone, and welcome to another wheel review. If you haven't already guessed, we're doing a Cammus wheel, and you're probably going, Tidge, who is Cammus? What is Cammus, and what wheels do they do? Well, they do this, which is the Cammus C5 wheel, and that is everything in terms of the wheel. That's the base right there, and the wheel. It's direct drive, and it's a very interesting wheel indeed in terms of how it gets here. Now, we're going to do the normal stuff, unboxing, go into the details, the pros, the cons, the price, and my overall opinion on the wheel. But to get to this point, it's a little bit more difficult than other wheels. Let me explain with the unboxing. So we get 3 boxes in this pack. You can buy this as a set as well. You get the C5 wheel, you get the pedals there, and you get the desk clamp, which we'll get into each individual box. The interesting part of this, and I actually think it's quite genius, if I'm brutally honest with you, is the boxes are really small when you think of a wheel. They really are small as we zoom into the pedals there. Now, they're separate because you could buy these separately, of course, but their boxes are small. So when I first got this package, I was like, there's a wheel and pedals in there? I don't believe it. I believe it or not, there is. And it comes like this. So they've been very genius with how they have boxed these items up. We're going to jump straight into the next part of this then, because we need to start unboxing this to actually understand how they've got these boxes so small. As you can see from the width of them, or the depth, it's not really there. So we jump into the pedal box, the CP5 labeled there, so you know what pedals they are. And we have the manual on top. So this is literally me opening the box up. So we get the manual, and that's going to explain all the information we need in terms of the pedals. CP5 pedals right there, Cammus at the top. You know who it's from, you know where to look on the website, and we can see it's just 2 pedals. It's not 3 pedals. It shows 2 pedals. It's only 2 pedals. So just keep that in mind if you are looking at this one. So we open up, or we remove the polystyrene there, and then we can see Cammus there on top. But it's looking very weird at the moment, isn't it? Looking very weird indeed, because we can't see the pedals. They're not there. And this was my surprise, because I wasn't sure of what to expect in the pedal box. So you can see here, it's literally a flat piece of metal with Cammus on the top, and that is it. There is nothing else in terms of the pedals being created. So I started to look and go, this is more like a DIY set. Open these up here. It's very well presented. Fair play to them. You see the pedal header there then, that can go onto a pedal. We've not actually seen the pedals yet, so we've got one there, and we can open up this other side. Again, it's presented very well, very nicely indeed in terms of how they've packaged this. It's really well thought out. I'll say that again. Really well thought out, really well done in terms of how they've packaged all these items, not even just the pedals here. And you can see there, I'm just trying to work it out. The pedal headers themselves, very strong. It's not plastic, it's actually metal, so it's a decent material. You quite often find it with other wheels that they've just got plastic headers on them. And this is very much beating more premium wheels with this just there right now. So you can see I'm just putting the polystyrene back, and we're going to go back into the box now. And we're going to try and hopefully get the next part out. So I reach in now and finally start to pull it out here. And you can see it comes out, once again, well presented. It's in 3 different layers that you've just seen there. And there are the pedals. And again, they've got no headers on them because we've just taken them out. We've got some cables there. But this is the main piece of metal for the pedal set. And we're going to just try and take that out here. You can see how well packaged it is. It's very hard to actually get out one-handed with a camera. But I'll do my best in this situation. And what we'll actually do is jump to some live reaction, because it's all very well me commentating over this. But to get my live reaction of what I thought at the time is actually better. And that's what I did film as well. So let's jump to live reaction and follow it through. Very nice piece of metal. Bit weird that I feel like I'm going to have to build the pedals from scratch. Very unique in the way it's designed in terms of the packaging, which is good. Should cost less in packaging, and you build it yourself. Again, I don't know really what's going on. We've got the top USB-C and Ethernet. Assuming that's a light of some kind. And then finally, so I just got the rest out the box. First of all, the USB-C cable that we saw, with an adapter as well, which is really nice. In fact, yeah, there's an adapter right there. That's really, really, really nice to give you an adapter. Some sticky pads. Very nice. And then some bolts. Happy to with the wheels. The actual pedal set here. So they label them, brake and accelerator. You can see right there. So really interesting in terms of the design here. So what you expect is that to go on there, like so. See the holes, you can put it wherever you like. Oh my word, they are very solid. Very, very solid. Oh yeah, the brake is. Yeah, very solid indeed. Sorry about the camera work there. But yeah, really nice pedals. Be really interesting to see. I'm expecting is to do something like following. It's a guess. This is just guesswork. Something along those lines right there. So I'm just in the process of building the pedal set essentially. You can see I've done the brake pedal there. So you see this here, this metal protruding part. So I'm assuming this is part of the sensors, because what actually happens, okay, is you've got this hole here and it actually goes in there. And then you see the two holes there? They line up with that. So what actually happens is it goes in like that, goes in there like so, and then it's on. Well, now I can't do this while holding the camera, but it's really interesting. So the brake pedal's currently on now. I've not obviously put the face plate on, but you can see there. I'm now pushing on it. That seems to be working absolutely fine. So what I will do is build the accelerator pedal, but I thought I'd best note that in this build process, because it confused me a little bit at first. You do have an instruction manual here that I am following, although I put the brake pedal on first before the accelerator. But that bit doesn't really matter. It's as long as you get it all connected properly. And that's what we're doing right now. So we're currently on step 2. I'll continue on and I'll let you know if I come across anything funky. So the pedals are now complete then. Things to note really, these bolts are very, very, very finicky. Like I've dropped them a few times, so you need to be on a light surface, and they're very easily, can easily be lost. Now I do have a spare one in the packet, which is good. They do include a spare one. Right there, you can see it. So yes, and yeah, it's just a bit finicky. Also, this Allen key here can be quite annoying sometimes. I'm going to be honest with you. It's very flimsy, but it is what it is. It's all about setting up the pedals, isn't it? But they are now set up, as far as I'm aware. Not tried them yet. In terms of the feel, it feels very nice. Obviously, it's not stuck down, so excuse the sound. And then the brake is actually a bit more tense than the accelerator. It's not too bad. It really isn't too bad at all. You know, you get super strong brakes, and I never understand it. You do want some feedback there, but not so much that you're having a workout. But yeah, they're done for now. It looks very, very, very basic. I don't know the price of these yet because I don't look at the price until at the end of the review. The whole point is to get a feel of them, and then if I suddenly get surprised by the price, then hey, let's go. But that is the pedals in a nutshell. What we will do now is move on to the locking stands that has come with the wheel before we get onto the wheel itself. So they sent me this basically attachment for the wheel. It's got not double suction, but double grip, which is good. I always have said that since a previous wheel review, the double grip is better. They just sent me this box though. Of course, the wheel comes in a separate box. Really interesting, everything's sold separately. It very much feels like you just add accessories to the things that you actually need, which is an interesting concept. So, what do we have in here then? We've got two, not even sure, Velcro sticky thingamajigs. Not sure what they are. We've got, interesting, we've got a screwdriver. Screwdriver there. We've got what I would assume are the actual, I'll get there in the end. There we go, yeah. Ah, look at this, we've got a bit more in here. So what have we got in here then? more bits and bobs. Plus the other one of these. So we're getting quite a toolkit going on here. And then in here we've got, oh wow, okay, these are heavy duty. So we've got back section, that section, and finally that section right there. So that's everything out of the packet there. I'm a little bit confused on how to set it up, but certainly give this a go. So I'm assuming that is the base. No idea what that is for. I'll have to figure this out as we go. I assume it goes something like that, of some kind. Who knows? We can certainly figure out. We've got these bases, which obviously they go into, I'm going to do this while trying to look, into there like that is what I assume, and then they go up, which then connects to that. But essentially it's a do-it-yourself kit I'm finding at the moment with Cammus. Do everything yourself, we'll give you the parts. So yeah, give me a moment and I will try and get this all built. So this is where I'm up to so far. I've not had to use my screwdriver that I've been given once yet. I have had to use my Allen key sets because all of these are Allen key based. I don't know what bolts they are before anyone starts kicking off. No idea. I've had to use them on this. So far so good in terms of the build, and it feels quality. It does feel quality. I'm just very confused with the heads because every time I try to put these on here, these metal pieces, they don't stay on in any way, shape or form, and they just fall off. So I feel like that's going to be a bit of difficulty with the wheel. Now there's no instruction manual for this. It could be with the wheel, I don't know. I've got loads of extra bits and bobs in all sorts of places. No idea what that's for. What we will do now is get onto the actual wheel and see if there are any instructions for this. So this is the wheel I have been sent. So it looks like it's got LEDs on the top right there. It's got a digital dial, got buttons, got little toggles there as well. So it's looking very interesting, this wheel, gotta be honest. Can't see the flappy paddles. I'm hoping they aren't the flappy paddles because they look tiny. Teeny tiny. But we'll have a look at that one. So, box has been opened right here. Got a manual, which I suspect we are going to need. Let's push that back a little bit. Now, let's go into this side first. Wow, we've got a wheel straight away there. Let's fold that over there. Oh wow, this is heavy. Oh my word, this is heavy. This is one of the heaviest wheels I've ever used. They are the paddle shifts. That's insane. That's got some weight to it. Gee whiz. But other than that, it looks really nice. If I put it down there like that, get rid of the strings. Really interesting looking wheel this. Really interesting indeed. We've got buttons there, which I did not realise. Toggles there. Really interesting. On the back. Oh, wow. Oh. Okay, this is interesting. So this is the actual power base then. Wow. Okay, this is very interesting. We've got a fan, USB, DC input, reset power. Interesting. I'm assuming that doesn't rotate. Oh, see, that rotates separate to the width. That makes sense. That can be solid then, with then the wheel turning itself. How does that mount up? Okay, this has just got really interesting. You can see it right there. We've got mounting holes here. Really interesting. This is something very, very, very different. I've never seen anything like this before. Never, never, never. Right, what else is in the box then? I don't think there's anything underneath there, so I'm going to go towards this right hand side. Pull this out here. Oh. Wow, lots in here then. So we've got, first of all, USB cable. You can see that right there. Allen key, more bolts. Now, is that the Allen key for the wheel stands? That is something we need to look into. We've got, I don't know what they are. Something. Plug. Oh, 3-prong. Interesting. Okay. Okay, and we've got the power supply. Finally, we got a fan. Comes with its own little fan to cool it down. This is really interesting. We've never had this before. Okay, give me one moment. This is actually everything unwrapped that needs to be unwrapped in terms of the wheel. So we've got a manual here, power block. That's the electric plug. A fan. This is the fan, which is interesting. We've got these, which I have no idea what these are for. Look like some sort of standoff of some kind. Got Allen key, bolts, another USB cable, and the wheel itself, which has the force on the back. Again, this is very unique. I can't say this enough. This is hugely unique. The paddle shifters are tiny. Mines, they're really tiny. But this is really, really, really interesting. This spins, of course. So obviously this will stay standard and the wheel will actually turn, is what I imagine. But really interesting. Really, really interesting, this. What I'll do now is I'm going to read this and try and set it up. So the wheel is built now. It's currently on this rig right here. I've been using it on my desk as well because I do feel it is a desk wheel rather than a rig wheel. And I'll explain that a little bit later on just because it comes with a desk clamp. But that's what it's for, you know, to clamp to a desk. But it can be used on the rig. It's on it right now and I have used it on the rig. So hopefully you enjoyed the live reaction version. I don't do that too often, but I decided to introduce that because I don't know how these wheels are going to arrive. And I think it's a good thing to show like how I understand the wheel as I get it out of the packaging. You may have the same experience and you go, ah, that's how it came in Tidgney's wheel. So I can understand how he built it or how it came out there. Or maybe if something looks a bit off for you, you can reference this video and have a look at it. That's why I've shown that and shown it in more detail. It's also why I put the timestamps down below so you can skip that part if you're not that interested in that part. Let me get on to the building issues then. So I did talk about the pedals in the opening. So the little screws there for the heads of the pedals, very finicky. Like I must have dropped that screw 6-7 times. Fortunately, I have a very bright area where I was doing it, so I could spot the screws quite quickly. If I didn't, I'd argue I'd lose them. I really would lose them, and you'd be spending 5, 10, 15 minutes trying to find them, and they do move about quite quickly. So I don't know how they could improve that. It's just, it is what it is, but just to reference that. The desk clamp. The desk clamp's the biggest disappointment in terms of the build. Let me explain. There are no instructions with the desk clamp, and you can buy it separately to the wheel. So I don't understand how somebody just buying the desk clamp is going to, know how to build it. Now, arguably, you're only buying it for the wheel itself because it can only support this wheel. So you should have the wheel instructions somewhere. But if you don't, you're a little bit lost and you have to go on YouTube. And I had to go on YouTube myself because I talked about it in the opening. The top of the screen points, I don't even know what you would call them, it wouldn't stay on. And I had no idea how that worked. And nowhere in the instructions did it reference it. So I went on a YouTube video. Made sense. The little silver screws. So you put it on, silver screw goes in, you tighten it up, and then there's the padding is then a sticky, it's got stickiness underneath. You stick it on top, and that creates the clamp. Then I understood it. I was like, ah, okay. That wasn't it. That wasn't in the instructions anywhere. Not that I could see anyway. So that's definitely something that needs improving. Now, in terms of the instructions, they're translated from, I would assume, Chinese to English. So some of the translations are a bit weird sometimes, but it's understandable. English isn't their first language. That's fair enough. But what I feel they would benefit from is some video guides. If they had their own YouTube channel, just put video guides, step-by-step instructions on there. I think that would be perfect. I had a similar situation with my old smart curtain rail that I had. That came from China, and the instructions for that were atrocious. But what they did as a manufacturer, they had it step-by-step in a video, and it just helped. It had no speaking in it. It just went step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. And it was literally down to the basic steps. I feel they need to do that with this wheel. It is a DIY. You know, you build it yourself. So if they had that, that would be much better, in my opinion. Just have a QR code in the manual where they could go to that. Maybe I missed it. I don't think I did, but maybe I missed that somewhere. But the video I went to was not an official Cammus video. It was another YouTuber who had basically done the build from scratch just to show it to other people, which is really beneficial. Most of the build is common sense, if I'm brutally honest with you. As you saw, as I was pulling it out, I did guess right with what the parts were. It was only the odd part that I didn't understand. So I'm building it. I built most of it without the instructions anyway. So most of the desk clamp was built without instructions. The pedals, mostly built without instructions until I had to try and understand how the sensor worked. And then I needed that part of it. But even so, I showed that in the video. And then the wheel is fairly straightforward in the grand scheme of it. It really is. It's just a desk clamp thing, which was pretty weird. So that's the building and the building of the wheel and the issues potentially with that. Let's get into the real juicy bit that most of you are actually here for, and some of you will have skipped to this point now, which is going to be the pros and cons of using the wheel, where you can use it, and we'll go from there. So let's get into the pros first of all then. And to kick off, the force feedback. I was not expecting it to be good at all, like any good. Just with the way it's presented, you wouldn't think it would be good. I'm used to very much wheels that have large bases, and effectively assuming that the force feedback is needed, or to get good force feedback, you need a big base. Apparently not. The force feedback is very good in the Cammus wheel. It's 5 Newton meters in terms of its strength. It competes with my regular daily driver, which is 8 Newton meters. So it's absolutely fine. I actually found it perfect. I could control the car. I felt bumps as I was going around the circuit on the Assetto Corsa, for example. So it's a good wheel. It's a really good wheel with the force feedback. And it has actually surprised me because it sort of gives me a new idea in terms of where you should go in your wheel progression. Because I've always had one idea in how you progress in the wheel ecosystem of sim racing. This potentially changes that. Next up then, in terms of the pros, is the desk clamp. Now, the desk clamp is ridiculously good. Ridiculously so. Now, it fits on my desk perfectly. I've been using the wheel both on my desk and on the rig. I do feel it's more of a desk wheel, if I'm brutally honest with you, but I'll get to that in the conclusion. But in terms of using it, it fits on my desk, which is like this. It doesn't move an inch. You can tighten it and loosen it as you like. So where I struggle to build it, once it's built, solid as anything. And then when I've used it on the rig, been absolutely fine as well. No issues, no movement whatsoever. It's absolutely spot on, is that desk clamp. And I think a good desk clamp is needed in any given wheel. I really do. If you have a rubbish desk clamp, my daily driver, if I was to use a desk clamp, is atrocious. This is absolutely spot on. So Cammus have done a really good job with that. Having the double grip just helps out so much more. The desk clamp, spot on. Now, you saw it in terms of the unboxing. I'll show you some stuff in the background as well. The fact there are so many buttons on the wheel is awesome. It's absolutely awesome, okay? Because it does mean that when you jump into ACC, yes, you have to map them, but even so, the fact that you've got so many buttons to choose from, you can change them, etc. You've got the dials on there as well. Superb. They have a good feel as well, the tactile feel is fine on them. So, yeah, really awesome that the wheel actually has that many buttons. You don't need an extra button box, that is for sure. And for me as well, because in terms of what the wheel is, having that many buttons on is actually superb. It really is. LEDs on the wheel. Now, this one you might go, Tidge, they all have them. Not all wheels have LEDs on. And I actually quite like the fact it does have LEDs on there. If you're racing in an endurance race or a longer race, just seeing LEDs just in your peripheral vision, it just helps you a little bit. You may just lose your concentration a little bit. Suddenly it's just flashing away red. LEDs there. It's good, And I have seen the price of this wheel now, and the fact that it's got LEDs on it is pretty unreal, to be honest with you, for the price. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome. And we'll get onto that price in just a second. Bit of a weird one with this next one, the power button. So, quite often on some wheels, you can accidentally hit the power button and it switches itself off instantly. You accidentally press it, you're like, oh, no. So, it's back on, got to start the car again, etc., etc. Now, with the Cammus C5, you have to hold that power button in order to switch it off. And it's actually in a really nice location as well. So, you're not exactly going to hit it accidentally. You've got to go behind the wheel to actually press it off, which is good. It's really good, the fact that they've thought about that design, and the fact you've got to hold it to switch it off means that if you do accidentally press it, you don't have to panic, because it's not going to switch itself off unless you hold it for that bit longer. If you're holding it for longer, guess what? The wheel goes, well, obviously you want to turn it off at that point, so I'll switch myself off. Really good design, really good thought process has gone into it. May seem like a bit of a weird pro, but I do talk about the weird stuff on wheels, and while it's a little bit weird, it's still it's a good thing about the wheel, and it means it has been thought out. And I think a large part of this wheel has been thought out, and you know, the fact that thought's gone into it means somebody's actually designed it and engineered it properly. Really good. Finally then, and this is still talking about the back of the wheel, the cable position. Now, when I test wheels, I've got to really try and get them as close to my desk as possible, just in terms of the setup. Now, sometimes that can mean cables getting in the way or not easily accessible if I need to have a look why a wheel potentially isn't working, or, you know, there's a cable that's just come loose, and it can be real finicky sometimes. Not in terms of the Cammus. You can literally just look straight over the wheel and look if the cables are there and pull them out, plug them back in, etc. And if you are moving the wheel at any point, now I moved the Cammus C5 a lot just due to the way the wheel is, in terms of being more of a desky wheel. And again, I'll talk about that after. So the fact that I could just do that very quickly is really good. And easy access. That's a big thing. And I think a lot of people just seem to forget that simplicity is good. So the fact that they are in an easier position, very simple to get to, it's really good. So a really good pro there in my books. The design is really well thought out in terms of the Cammus C5 wheel. Let's get on to some of the negatives then of the wheel. And first up are the paddle shifters. Now, I did talk about this in the unboxing. They are way too small. Now, it didn't impact me as much as I thought it would in terms of using the wheel, but they're still way too small. Now, I think of my daily driver in real life, you know. The fact it's got paddle shifters, I love a good big paddle shifter. It just feels so much better than a tiny little button where you're going to go, oh no, look, I'm pressing a little button. Now, we want big paddle shifters, okay? And the fact that they are that small is concerning in my book. Now, I think back to, I think it was the Logitech Pro wheel. It was way back, 2012 sort of area, where they brought out a cheaper wheel to the G25 or 7. And what happened there is third-party suppliers built a larger paddle shift that you could attach to the wheel. I feel like Cammus should really just improve those paddle shifters a little bit. Maybe bring out an accessory which is like £10 or whatever it might be to add to the wheel to allow to have big paddle shifters for those that want it. Because they seem to have that accessory style going when we look at the unboxing at the time. Arguably, they should just be there by default in terms of a larger paddle shifter, but that's something I would really love to see improved on this wheel because they are a little bit small. They look just a bit rubbish, to be honest with you. They really do, but I had no problems using them. I was expecting to have problems, but they are a bit small. Next up then, and this is my biggest gripe with this wheel and pedal set combo, and that is the pedals. Now, I'm going straight to the pedals here. The pedals are literally the worst pedals I've ever used. Probably, I don't even know of any other worse pedals. I would actually rather use some broken pedals than these pedals. So let me explain a little bit more. Now, they look very toy-like. They are tiny in terms of the pedals, which is fine, I understand, and we have to build them ourselves when we unbox them. However, trying to stay at 100% throttle is hard, and I have no idea why. I had to overpress the pedal. So what I mean by that is that, obviously, if you're using a pedal, you're doing this, okay? You're doing that in terms of the pedal. The fact that I had to over-force myself to press the pedal, it was a bit weird, if I'm honest with you. It really was weird. I didn't quite understand it. And what that meant was that because I was over-pressing it, when I then wanted to do progressive throttle application, I couldn't because I was so used to over-pressing the throttle. I then became a bit more aggressive with my throttle application, and it just became a little bit weird. I certainly wouldn't use the pedals that come with the wheel in terms of the package. I'd buy the wheel and get a separate set of pedals because I do not like them. I think they are the worst pedals I've ever used in my life, and I literally wouldn't want to use them ever again. I really wouldn't. Speaking of which, we go on to our final negative, which is the pedal grips. So they come with some grips underneath. Now, I talked about this being a desk wheel, and I'll explain that. They come with, basically, it's like sticky stuff that goes underneath it, and obviously that will grip to the ground, and then it should stick. It doesn't stick. You have to overpress the pedals, which is the negative I've just talked about, and because you do that, the pedals end up moving on a hard surface. Now, I have mounted the pedals to my rig, and they work fine on the rig. I still struggle with applying 100% throttle. I still have to overpress it in order for it to work. And obviously, if you are constantly coming off 100% throttle, there should be footage in the background of said thing happening. It's just an issue. It's a big issue in terms of the pedals. And the pedal grips they're not that good unless you hard mount them. And I don't think this wheel and pedal combo, the whole thing, is a hard mounting sort of setup, if I was to explain myself. And I'll talk about that in the conclusion. But the fact the pedal grips don't keep the pedals from moving is a problem, in my opinion. And the whole pedal setup is a big negative. Some other notes to talk about then with this wheel. So we've talked about the pros, we've talked about the negatives. Other notes just to keep in mind, the speedo on the wheel seems to only be in kilometers an hour. I couldn't see a way to convert it to miles an hour. Obviously, being from the UK, we use miles an hour. If you're in the US, I assume you use miles an hour as well. A lot of people use miles an hour in the US. You've not got to kilometers yet. So you can't change that on the wheel. So if you do use it, and I know you don't really use it, this is why it's another note and not a negative, then that's an issue potentially for you. I don't use the speedo. It's just a little addition that you might have as a graphic, so I won't worry too much about that. But yeah, the speed is only shown in kilometers an hour. Now, this stitching is on the inside of the wheel. Now, I always talk about this in terms of every single wheel, basically what happened with a previous wheel I used to own, where the stitching would eventually come loose after usage. You know, after a good, hard 6 months worth of usage, stitching would come loose, the rim would come off the wheel, and then you'd have to get a new wheel. It's on the inside on the Cammus C5. Is it going to be an issue? I don't know. It's sort of a situation where you'd have to use it consistently and hard use for the 6 months to find out more. But I just thought I'd mention that the stitching is on the inside. Some people may have an issue with the stitching coming loose. I'm not saying it will happen. It's just information there. And it may dig into your thumbs as well if you do have issues with that. I've had issues with all wheels with that in the past. But that doesn't always affect me. So it's just to let you know the stitching is on the inside of the wheel. Finally, when I came to use the wheel on Assetto Corsa Competizione, none of the buttons were mapped. There was a Cammus profile to use, which is great. That's good because it sort of automatically registers itself, which is brilliant. I've had issues in the past with other wheels where it's not, and you have to map everything and set it up. But the buttons were not mapped on ACC. So I had to go through and map the ones I wanted to map. A little bit annoying. I really feel like they should have a standard setup there that you can just quick jump in and play. You know me, as a user, as a racer, I just want to plug in and play and have some fun. And that's all I want to do. So there's some of the notes that I've written down in terms of extras that you may need to know about. They're not pros, they're not negatives. It's just other information that you may need or want to know about. The next question is, does it work on the PlayStation? And the answer is, it does work on the PlayStation, so you can use the Brook resolution to play it on the PlayStation. But again, I didn't use it for that long on the PlayStation because of the pedal issue. I mainly focused on the PC side, just because every time I am applying 100% throttle, guess what happens? It starts flickering and I can't keep it there, and I have to overpress it. And it was becoming really frustrating. So I basically separated the two. And originally, I actually thought it was just an adapter issue because it's not officially supported for PlayStation. I do need to put that out there. It's not officially supported, but I, of course, have that adapter where I try unofficial wheels on the PlayStation to see if it works, because some of you will already have that. Maybe you don't and you want to use the adapter with the wheel and go, do you know what? I'll just get a cheaper direct drive wheel and I can use it now on the PlayStation. And that's what we're going to talk about next. The price of the wheel. So something that surprised me massively. Now, when I did the unboxing, I had no idea about the price. My first usage, I had no idea about the price. Obviously, to do the final part of this video, I went and looked at the price. And I never look at the price when a wheel manufacturer wants to send me a wheel to have a look at. And the reason for that, I want to know, as it arrives, is it a premium feel? Is it a cheap feel? What's the feeling I get? First usage, before even using it, does it feel like good? What does it compare like to my current wheel? And I couldn't believe the price when I looked at it. So it's $329, but doesn't include import taxes for the whole package. The whole package. That's the wheel, the pedals, and the desk clamp. It's obviously even cheaper if you just want the wheel. Even cheaper. It's insane. Absolutely insane how cheap this wheel is. Now, I went on Amazon to have a look on Amazon to find basically a supplier for this. I found it for £380 at the time when I went to have a look, which, even so, and that's for the entire package, even so, is still pretty damn good for a direct drive wheel. It really is. It's effectively half price of my Fanatec, I think it is. I'm just trying to think of prices there. It's definitely competing in terms of price at the pinnacle. It's very much there or thereabouts as one of the cheapest wheels you can buy. Now, I don't know whether it will go on sale at any point on Amazon. I've talked about the beginner wheels where you would go on other wheels where they're gear-based or belt-driven. This is direct drive, so it's smooth. And it is smooth when I used it. Do you know what? I've not even talked about that in the force feedback. It is very smooth when you use it. There is no cogginess there at all. And the fact it's so cheap is impressive. But I will go back to the point of the pedals are pretty rubbish. So I would argue you'd actually just want to buy the wheel on its own with the desk clamp and then get another set of pedals from another wheel and have a look more into those pedals. We're going to jump into the overall conclusion then of the Cammus C5. One thing I forgot to mention in terms of the desk, it is a desk wheel in my opinion. This isn't a wheel for a rig. And the reason I explain this or want to say this is the fact that if you're paying such a cheap price for a wheel, you're not going to have a rig, or you're going to have a cheap rig at that. And I'd argue it's more for your desk. And in that situation, that's what you're looking for. If you've got a rig, you're going to want to go probably a bit more bigger in terms of a wheel. That's the only thing I want to say with the desk clamp and the desk, because it's in a pretty weird situation, the Cammus C5. So, would I advise you buying this wheel? Well, if you've got a PlayStation, no, because it's not supported. And I've said this for the entire time. If you've got a PlayStation, you have to buy an official wheel. Yes, the adapter works with it, and some of you are using other wheels with the adapter and are having great times. But it takes one update to break the adapter, and then you'll be left with a wheel that isn't usable on the PlayStation. Just keep that in mind if you do have a PlayStation. I know a majority of the audience that watches my videos are on the PlayStation because that's what most of my content's around. So do that, bear that in mind. If you have a PlayStation, I wouldn't buy it for the PlayStation. However, it gets interesting when you get into if you've got a PC and you are using it for a PC, or maybe you've got a PlayStation and a PC and you want to use it for both. Would I advise to buy it? The wheel, yes, absolutely. The wheel is great. Happily, I would advise buying it. Pedals, no, do not buy the pedals. I would literally avoid them like the plague. And this is where the problem comes in, whether should you buy the wheel in general. Because the wheel is cheap, and it's meant to be cheap. And the idea here is it's going to be one of your first wheels. Now, I've always said, I'll happily say this, the Logitech, I've always said, is your go-to wheel as your starter wheel. Get it on offer, but only when it's on offer. I would argue the Cammus C5 now brings in a very big debate as to whether that is the first wheel or whether the Cammus C5 is actually your first wheel. It is very cheap in terms of wheels in the grand scheme of sim racing. My problem is the pedals. Now, if it's a beginner wheel and you're coming in, you want to just buy the package. A wheel, pedals, that is it. Be able to jump in and play straight away. With the pedals being so bad, I'm not sure I can say the Cammus is the one to go to. I really can't. If you have another set of pedals or can get a used set very cheap that can work with it, you get an adapter or it just uses a separate USB, then great. Buy the Cammus C5 and buy a different set of pedals. But I'm not sure I can say buy it if it's your first wheel because the pedals are so rubbish. Now, if they improve on the pedals, great, because that's where they do need to improve. If they improve on them even remotely so that you can have 100% better. And some people are going to go, Tidge, did you change it in the app? Yes, I changed it in the app. I tried so many things. I tried doing a bit less pressure in the app so that I could set the new max. I still had the same problem. No matter what I did, I had the same problem each and every time, and it was frustrating. The pedals are shocking. I can't tell you how bad those pedals are. They are shocking. I find it insane, if I'm honest with you, that they've done such a good job on the wheel and the pedals are rubbish. It blows my mind. It blows my mind because if they got the pedals right, I'd be there going, buy it now. I would. I literally would be saying buy it now, but I can't say that. I'm sort of sat on the fence. I really am in terms of where I can say this wheel would be. So I would advise to you, if I'm brutally honest with you, in terms of this conclusion, because you do want a conclusion and an answer from me, if you can get a used set of pedals, or you don't mind looking for a set of pedals that work separately, then get the Cammus C5 if it's your first wheel. If you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. If you just want the bundle and you just want to kick off with a first wheel, I wouldn't advise it. Not yet, not until they change the pedals. That is my conclusion from this video. It's a very good wheel. It's a very good wheel for the price. It's an unbelievable wheel for the price, in fact. The pedals are the one thing that let it down. And it really frustrates me to say that because otherwise I'd be saying, go and get the damn wheel. I really would. So yeah, my conclusion, a bit of a weird one, I expect. And some people will maybe complain about that. But I can't say anything more. The pedals are what lets it down so much. Everything else is beautifully designed and beautifully thought out. It really is. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on now. That is going to be it in terms of this wheel review, the Cammus C5 there. I appreciate Cammus sending it to me. This wheel review has been delayed by quite a bit because it's so unique in terms of that. It very much is a desk wheel. As I say, that is going to be it for this video then. If you have enjoyed this wheel review, make sure you check out my other wheel reviews. They are right there. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content. A big thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for Cammus for supplying the wheel. And I hope to see you in another in another video or live stream again very soon.